What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Sex Mechanic Podcast. I am your host, the Sex Mechanic, aka Jeanson Benoit, aka Mr. Born to Explore, aka Confident Creator, aka I Did It My Way. And this is episode number 5 of the Sex Mechanic Podcast. So thank you. Don't have anybody in here yet, but I'll let some people make their way in. Today's episode is a good one. I'm really interested to talk about this. This is kind of a piggyback of I can't even speak right now. Let me get myself together. Okay. So this is to piggyback off of last week's episode, kind of, where I was talking about not needing to bring money to the table in order to date or in order to date a woman. So the whole topic last week was like, you can bring more than just money to the table and provide, let that plane go by, and provide a lot of value in a woman's life. So today, we're actually talking about, is it possible to date while you're broke? Because a lot of people say that it's not. You hear songs saying, if you ain't got no money, take your broke ass home. I wish I remembered who said that, but I don't. But they said it. And there were a lot of people chanting that song as it was going on. And there are people that also say, if you're broke, then you should be more focused, if not only focused on, just getting your situation better and get your money up, which is a good point, but you can focus on getting money while still, you know, dating or just having interactions with people. And the truth is, right, as much as we like to say, if you're broke, you shouldn't date or, you shouldn't make, connections with people. But at the end of the day, we're still human and we still have a desire for, interaction. We have a desire for affection. We have a desire for, human companionship. So even if you're broke or your situation is not the best, you should still have a chance of meeting somebody and getting involved with somebody in some kind of way, depending on what it is you're looking for. So I have some stories, right? One story in particular, in terms of this point in time in my life, that gives the example of how you can be in not the best financial situation, but still be able to, get with people and make real connections with people. All right. So let me paint this picture for you. The year was 2017. It wasn't that long ago. It was actually like 4 years ago. It was 2017. I was living in Idaho at the moment, and I had an intuitive hit to move to the San Francisco Bay Area. So I loaded up my old 2001 Buick LeSabre, who's still, she's still kicking right now, and loaded her up to the top, full of all my belongings, everything. The same way I'd done 4 times out of the previous, or 4 times in the last 3 years up to that point anyway. So it wasn't that new to load my car up and move to a different city. But this time, I happened to be moving to the most expensive city in the country. And at the time, I think it might have been in the top 2 or 3 most expensive cities in the world, actually. So this is where I decided I was going to move. And so I loaded the car up, drove to the Bay Area. I had one somewhat of a job prospect with Tesla. I had talked to them on the phone and applied for the position, but we didn't have any real scheduled dates for, an interview or anything. So it wasn't a real prospect, but, I was putting my faith in it. So no real job prospects. I had about $2,000 to my name, maybe a little bit less. Most of that in credit cards. Um, I did not have a place to stay yet. I didn't find a place to stay. I was doing research and stuff like that, but I figured I'd find it when I get there. I was on some real like everything's gonna work out. I'll find everything I need and get everything I need once I get there. No friends in the area. I knew a couple of people, but not that well. Um, so yeah, that was kind of the backdrop. So I move there and I end up, staying in an Airbnb for like the first 3 weeks I was there. And then the next couple weeks, as the money was starting to run low, I had to figure out another way. So I had to stretch that money out. And I hadn't found a job yet. So I started staying in my car. And I did that for about a couple weeks. And then I was, fortunate enough to be offered a couch. It wasn't an actual couch, it was a room. It was like a guest room by one of my mentors, Dr. Patty, who I appreciate to this day for that and other things. She really looked out and let me stay there for a couple weeks before I started a job that I found. So, I found a position, cool, started working there. But if any of you have ever been broke or low on funds, you know that those first couple weeks to the first month are really tough with a new job, because even though you have a job and you're going to get paid in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long it is, you're also playing catch up. So you don't necessarily have a lot of money to spend on discretionary items. It's really just to catch up on whatever you missed up to that point. And so it was no different for me. So when I started, I still didn't have a place. I just kind of moved. I moved on. I moved up from sleeping in my car to sleeping in the company van on the days that I had to work. So I'd sleep in the company van for like 4 days out the week. And then on the weekend, I would go and, get an Airbnb or something for a few days. So I felt a little bit more comfortable. And I did that for a little bit until I got another job. Finally, I got the other job. And around that time is when, I would say, within a month to a month and a half, I ended up coming across three different women that I connected with, and that, we started some kind of relationship. Oh, I don't want that to fall. Hit that by mistake. And we started some type of relationship. And actually, the first one I met when I was still at the first job, when I was, sleeping in the company van. And all three of these women, like, I respect and appreciate them because they knew my situation. I was honest from the beginning. They respected the situation. I'm sure it wasn't ideal for them or for me, but well, I know it wasn't ideal for me, but we all understood that it was a temporary situation and it wasn't going to last. And to this day, I still appreciate them for that, because they could have definitely looked at it as, something they didn't want to necessarily deal with, or a person they didn't want to deal with. So, you know, in the most technical sense, I was definitely homeless. You know, at least I had, a car. I had, the company van, and I had a little bit of money to go to Airbnbs here and there. But I didn't have a home. I didn't have a place of my own. And, these women were kind enough to, compassionate enough to allow me to stay there at least for the night. When we'd have our sexual interaction, they wouldn't trip. And let's be honest, all right? Chances are they would have let me stay over there anyway, because that's just what they prefer. If they have sex with somebody, maybe they just prefer that the person stay over. Whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. And I appreciate it either way, because they could have easily been like, yeah, so what you about to do afterwards? So luckily that wasn't the case. And technically, I wasn't even really like fucking for a bed, because if I was, then I probably wouldn't have got a bed the first couple times with a couple of them, because it wasn't my best performance. but they looked out, and I appreciate them. And I also want to give a shout out too. This is a side note, but There was a coworker at the time when I started that second job who allowed me to stay on the couch of his hotel room when we were all in training, and I appreciate him as well. Ali, thank you. I don't think he watches this, but if he ever does, I appreciate you, and I've told him before as well. But yeah, so you can absolutely date when your situation is not the best financially. And mind you, I realized that I had a job and I had money somewhat coming in. I didn't have a lot of money, not at all. I didn't have a lot of discretionary income and I didn't have a place to stay. All right. So even though I had a job, I didn't have a place to stay. Usually, when people are broke, they might not have a car, but they'll have somewhere to, lay their head that's not their car or their vehicle or, the work truck. So even though I did have a job, I still did not have a lot of money. Yet when I made that decision, it was like a conscious decision. It was a couple months after I had moved there, and I told myself like, all right, I'm ready to meet people. Like I'm ready to come across women and make some connections and see where it goes. And that's what I did, and that's what happened. So it's definitely possible. I don't want people out there to think that you have to have all your stuff together before you can meet people. Because in all honesty, to me, you really find out who is there for you when you're in a really low point. Even though I didn't feel like I was at a low point, psychologically, mentally, spiritually, I felt maybe the best I felt ever during those times when I didn't have any money or when I didn't have a place to stay because I was so in tuned. But even financially, when you're in a low spot, if somebody's willing to kind of stick some things out with you, that tells you that that person really cares about you, even if not on a romantic level, but that person fucks with you. So that means a lot to me that those people did that during that time. And, two of them I'm still cool with. One of them is actually a really good friend. And, I couldn't ask for anything else. But don't sell yourself short by thinking that, because you don't have everything together, you can't go after anybody or you can't try to, you can't try to make connections because you can. And I even have some tips on how you can make dating while broke works or works. You can make dating while broke work for you. All right. And while I'm talking about this, I also want to remind you all not to forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share on the video, of course. It's very important. And again, the road to 1,000 subscribers starts every time you guys are on. So it starts right now. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can monetize and make YouTube a real life side hustle, not just, something I do out of entertainment. So go ahead and subscribe if you like the content of these videos and the content of my other videos on the channel. And let's get this subscribe or subscription base up to 1,000. All right, so I got some tips for you for how to date when your money is low. You might be doing pretty bad right now, and but you still might have that desire to be with somebody. So here are some ways that you can do that. The first way is you want to be completely honest about your situation and where you're at with whoever it is you come across and meet. I was upfront and transparent with these women that, I didn't have a place to stay, that I was sleeping in my car and Airbnb. And they were, I can't say they were okay with it. That's not they might not have been okay with it. However, they accepted it and accepted me for the place that I was in. And if you come across somebody who's not accepting of wherever it is you are and doesn't want to deal with you, then you just move on. Like the worst thing you could do is try to convince somebody that they should be with you even though they feel like, they don't for whatever reason. So don't try to force anybody to make them think that, oh, I've got potential, things are going to get better, blah, blah. Like, I feel like if you got to convince somebody or persuade them, then you're doing too much and it's just not a match. So, not to say anything about the person who decides not to be with somebody who's not in the best position financially, because I understand that as well. But it just means it's not a match and just move on. Move on to somebody who respects where you're at and sees the potential in you and sees that you're working towards something bigger and greater than where you're at the moment. All right, that's very important. Number 2 is you want to get creative about where you meet people and what you do. A lot of people like to do the whole movies and or dinner. That's cool. That's fun to some degree. But think about it. When you go to a movie, you can't really talk to somebody and get to know them. So you're really limited on how well that can go. All right. You might enjoy the movie, you might not, but you just spent $15 a ticket. Is kind of what it is right now, right? Like 15 or $20 a ticket. And you really don't get to know the person. So do something that's a little bit more personal. Dinner is cool too, but dinner can be expensive depending on where you go. So think outside the box. Maybe go to lunch for the first time meeting somebody. Maybe meet up for coffee, happy hour, drinks. Drinks is drinks is a little bit on could be on the expensive side too. So, but like coffee, going to a park, the beach. There's different things that you can do that are either free or low cost that puts a lot less pressure on you if you're not doing that well. And being that the person that you're, meeting up with already knows your situation, it's not a big deal if you don't want to do the typical, you know, expensive expensive things, all right? And leading into that is number 3. Don't be afraid to suggest that you guys split the cost, all right? Especially for the first time. It's not the most popular thing to do, but if you split the cost the first time, at least there's no worry that if this is the only time y'all meet, that you spent all this money on this person that you don't really have like that. And then, nothing came out of it. So both people can come in and put in an equal amount of funds and time and leave not feeling like they left more on the table than they brought in. That they left more on the table than the other person. That's what I meant to say. But I don't have any other tips besides those. Be straight up, be real, and don't don't try to be somebody you're not. And don't try to portray yourself to be somebody you're not either. Like this whole idea and concept of like balling out and like you got all this money and you're doing very well. That's great. If that's your situation, more power to you. But if it's not, then be who the hell you are at the moment. Like, hopefully, you believe that whatever situation you're in, if it's not a great situation, that you're not going to stay in that situation. So, give yourself a little bit more credit and allow yourself to live in your truth, no matter what that truth is at the moment. Looks like we have some comments. So I want to see the comments and see what people are saying right now. Okay. Got one comment from my cousin saying, "Wow." Excuse me. My sister saying, "Yo." She knows this story actually. She's the one who suggested that I bring this story up and make it an episode that I talk about when I was living out of my car and going from Airbnb to couch surfing to car sleeping. And I agreed with her. It's a good lesson. She said that'll be the first and last date. Split. Oh, split. Look, you're a little bit more conventional and old fashioned and in certain regards when it comes to dating and courtship. And I respect that. But look, again, you might be in a position where you've dealt with somebody or you've dealt with multiple people who did not have their shit together financially, right? And so now you're in a place where you're like, my standard is this person must have at least or at minimum this. And that makes total sense. Like it all depends on where that person is in their life. So I don't even fault you for that or for feeling that way. All I'm saying is that if a person is not with it, then that person is not a match for you where you're at right now anyway. Because if they're looking for somebody who's doing quite well and is, buying bottles and VIP service and all that other shit, and you're not in that place, then it's not a match, regardless. So don't beat yourself up about the fact that it's not a match. And also don't try to be somebody that you're not at the moment because all you could do is be where you're at and then try to work towards being better. That's the best you can do, honestly. Thank you guys for the comments. Any other comments about this topic here? I don't know if anybody's been in the situation or in the scenario before. I know probably not to the degree that I have because I'm a little extreme when it comes to things. I'm kind of like a social scientist, for my own life. A lot of things I just turn into a social experiment and, see how I can come out the other side of it just because I can, like that's just how my analytical mind works. But maybe other people out there have been in a similar situation or have dated somebody who's been in a rough patch in their life financially. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you guys had to say. By the way, I'm really liking StreamYard. This is side note, but I really enjoy the platform so far, and I am probably gonna go with the paid version at some point. But for now, when you start off and you're trying to build something, that's not necessarily a requirement, but it's coming. It's definitely coming. So let's see. I think I have somebody who said that they oh. Oh man, I had to send a message to my peoples, man. Look, so and just to just to add, I'm sorry. It's a private message, but just to add, again, again, the past 2 weeks we've been talking about the concept of bringing money together with dating, right? And the whole thing about that is that I just want people to realize that money, although it's a part of the dating process, it's a part of courtship, it's a part of, getting with somebody. It's not the only thing. It's in some cases it's not even the first thing. All right, you can really show yourself to be more than just your wallet and provide a lot of value, especially if you're somebody, like I said last week, who has ambition, who has potential, who's showing work ethic, and that they are on their way to their best version of themselves. So, because there's a lot of people that are down on like down financially, And there are a lot of people who get down on themselves because of their financial situation. And my whole goal here is to let you know that you're not worthless because your pockets aren't filled. Like you've got plenty to offer still. You've still got a lot that you can provide. And I think it's your duty to find value in yourself and find out what you can show people and showcase to people since the money is not there. Show those other aspects of yourself that you can, provide. So just keep that in mind. Oh, okay. So I got a question saying, why do I like StreamYard? I like StreamYard because it offers a lot of options in terms of what creators like to use. So depending on if I go to the higher paid level, I'll be able to put logos on there and I'll be able to use some music, I imagine, as well. So I like that about it. And it's really easy to use. It's very user friendly. Thanks for the question. All right. But don't you think sometimes it's better to just focus on bettering yourself instead of trying to focus on dating? Sometimes it is. But like I said very early in this live stream, we're humans and at times there's a need. It's not even a want. There's a need for, you know, human interaction and human companionship and touch and conversation. Like stuff like that are things that as human beings we need at certain points. Sometimes we don't need it, but sometimes we do. And if you can focus on getting your money situation better and getting your personal situation better while dating, then why not? If there's somebody who's willing to go through that process with you or, see what you can become, I say, why not? And it's not for everybody. It's not even for me all the time. Like right now, I don't feel like I can handle, a dating situation while I'm trying to better myself, if we're speaking honestly. But at the time, I had gotten myself to the point where I had a job. So I wasn't thinking about that. I knew I was just kind of getting out of a hole. And I felt like it was definitely time to start, interacting with people and making connections. So it all has to be, on your own time and when you're ready. But if you're not ready and you know that you can't juggle both, then don't try, especially if you're in a certain place in your life. Absolutely. Next time, use WhatsApp. Okay. Thanks. But yeah, so this is gonna be a little bit shorter of an episode. Yeah, I know this is Tuesday and I gotta go back to work tonight. If y'all didn't know, now y'all know. So I'm glad you guys could join me for this episode. Stay tuned for another episode. I'm still working out the days and the times. So I don't have a set time yet because it all depends on kind of how my work schedule goes, which is the same every week, but I just started back. So I'm trying to find a balance. Um, and I might even start doing weekends. So it might go to Saturday or Sunday, possibly, because those are the days that just work better for my schedule. And so be on the lookout for that. I'll give you a heads up as usual and let you know when I am going to do a live stream. If I don't have time to do the live stream, then I'll at least do a pre-recorded episode. And yeah. So thank you again for joining me for episode number 5 of the Sex Mechanic podcast. And I'll see you next time. Later.